Good morning, everyone. Peace and blessings to you. It's Kamal on a Friday. And one good thing about YouTube is that we can have a community all across the globe and communicate almost instantaneously. So I know I shouldn't be too concerned with this, but I wanted to respond to some of the comments. My friend Mass, I think it's Sail Life or Life is Like Sailing. I forget the name of his channel exactly, but he responded to some questions about the positioning of his heater, like really quickly. So I wanted to respond to some of the comments or questions about building a jig. And so I wanted to show you something real quick, just in case some of you didn't have a good understanding. All right, so this is frame 16. That's the line that represents that frame that I built that was, sort of out of position or out of, what was it? Not out of plumb, but it just wasn't symmetrical and didn't give me the real dimensions I wanted. And so the dimension from here to here was off, which meant that that frame wouldn't sit right. The shear would have been a little bit more in. There's only a 3-inch difference from the top of the shear to the chine. So it's really important that I get this flare properly. So I wanted to show you frame 16. All right. Now here is frame 17. You see, it is pretty similar, but it's different. And so it's longer here at the bottom of the boat. The angle is pretty similar, but it's a little different. And I wanted to show you that in a graphic way. It actually is taller, if you can see that here. Let me zoom out and zoom back in. It actually rises up longer. It rises higher. So these are small changes, but it makes a big difference when it comes to the boat. And let's come back up and see, that's 17. And so here is 18. All right. So 18, if you can see, even the difference again is it's a small difference, but it is different. Remember, all these frames are drawn on the same plane, which means that if they were the same, they would appear the same on these drawings. But as you see, ever so slightly, there are differences. The bottom of this frame is a little bit longer. This dimension right now is equal, but even that changes later on down the line. And you can see this frame also is a little bit higher because the boat rises as you go to the back. And then if we look at frame 19, even a little bit more difference. Less difference because we're getting to the part of the boat where it's not getting very wide, right? But it's still getting taller. The frame's getting taller. And then we're going to go ahead and jump. And I'm going to show you a big difference here. We're going to go to like frame 12. Frame 12 is not very far from frame 16, but there's a big difference in the way it looks, in its shape. So you see frame 12, it's even shorter here. This dimension, I believe, gets longer because the forward end of the boat, the chine rises up out of the water. So if we fast forward again to, let's say, frame 10, and then let's go to frame 8 and 6. So if you see, a jig really serves no purpose because not one of these frames is exactly the same. And remember, if they were the same, you would only see one line here. But they change in very subtle ways, which gives this boat amazing shape. I know it may appear to be a big old box, but this boat has flair to it. It has lines. The chines rise up towards the front of the boat. They rise up again at the back of the boat. So it's got a pretty dynamic hull shape. It's not as simple as you may think. And it's ever so subtle, but it makes a big difference as it's moving through the water. So I just wanted to show you that in a quick response to the questions about building a jig. I mean, if I built a jig, I would have to build a jig for each frame. All I need to do is to be able to lay these lines on the table, make sure that the wood lays on the line and glue it and screw it and nail it together. It's just that simple. It only took me about 20 minutes to do each of those frames last night, and that was checking, triple checking, and quadruple checking. So yeah, so I think we've got that process of those frames down pretty well. So just stay tuned. I did see some other issues. I'm going to have to go out and buy a laser because the laser I have only gives me a straight line. And in order to set the top of the frames, which would be here, where they need to be, I need to make sure, because each frame, it has a subtle difference from the front of the boat to the bow. It goes down and comes back up. You might not see it too well, but if you look at this elevation, you can see that, the boat is high, then it gets lower, then it rises up again towards the aft part of the boat. So there's tremendous shape there, and well, not tremendous, but there's shape there, and of course there's great shape when looking at it from a plan view. So none of those frames are the same, and when I go to install these frames on the chine, I have to make sure that I have this elevation offset from the platform, and that's what I have to do more quality control with. So I need to go out and get a laser to spin a line to make sure I have that right. So it's a good process, but I want to make sure, well, it's detailed, but I want to make sure I get all these steps right so that I can have this beautiful hull shape cruising through the water at some point. And believe me, it's going to be very, very nice. At any rate, that's it for today. It's my lunch break. I'm going to go find some food now. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Build a Boat Saturday. Peace and blessings.